All right. Happy Friday. Big waves to you. Good to see you. Hopefully everybody, Andrew, am I coming in okay this morning?
You sound great.
Okay. Perfect. Well, good to see everybody. It's been a little bit of a traveling week, but and that's always good for service and the fun of trying to figure out, make Zoom work. But we did it. So the word for today is compromise. And if you look at the definition, it's an agreement or a settlement of a dispute that is reached by each side making concessions. Another definition, we should have let Vince Green talk about this today. Another agreement, just a thought. Another agreement is to accept standards that are lower than that is desirable. And here's kind of where I went with it this morning. Compromise is not about losing. It is about deciding the other person has just as much right to be happy with the end result as you. And Dina Martini actually put that in a quote one time. I started thinking about that. I thought, man, we go through, how many of you would agree? We go through our daily walks of life, and one of the things that we're constantly doing is we're compromising. Sometimes we're compromising with ourselves, like in between our two ears, on things we should do, things we shouldn't do. That bucket of ice cream that I shouldn't eat, but I'm compromising why I should. But then there's some things that go on in our daily walks or in our personal life. And this is where I went with my part this morning, that like Brent Palmer should never compromise on. It should be like just a hard line in the sand or in the concrete that, listen, I don't compromise on these things, because I believe, that one thing we would all agree on is there's people out there, there's things out there in this life that's going to challenge that compromise in ourselves that we shouldn't waver on. And so I went to that this morning where I said things to never compromise on, because they're the things that make us who we are. And number one, your values. I mean, think about it. Like, the things that define you are uncompromisable. So if someone's trying to get us to be somebody we're not, then it's probably a good time to sit down with that person and go, look, here's just some lines that I got that this makes me who I am, and I'm not willing to compromise. Another one is your faith. People don't have to believe how you believe, but you dang sure don't have to turn it and start believing like them. Like whatever you believe, what your faith is, like what my faith is, stick with it. Be firm. Don't compromise. Don't lose sight on your faith. Your friends and family. How many of you don't have to raise your hand, I'll say it myself, have lost sight of the people you value the most sometimes? Like I have been guilty of this. Like, get so busy with work, get so busy with doing life, you look up and the people, your friends, your family, you look up and you go, man, I'm really compromising on valuing these people I love and cherish so much. Big life decisions. How many of us have people, I call them border bullies, that you got big decisions you want in life, like you want to go after, you want to thrive, and you got somebody that's holding you back, that's being what I call a border bully. Doesn't mean they don't like you, they could love you, but they just are trying to hold you down from making those big life decisions that you want to go do. And it doesn't matter your age. Like, we're going to make big life decisions, hopefully, from now until we depart this earth. Don't compromise that. I had a couple more. Don't compromise your hobbies, your passions. Like that's what makes you who you are. The physical and mental health. Like, don't, we all need to remember this. Getting out and exercise is important. It's a non compromise. So sometimes work can get crazy. It's like, I don't have time. Yes, you do. Got to make time. It's a non compromisable thing. And then last, yourself. You know, don't let go of who we are because of other people, right? And I've been guilty of this before too, of trying to maneuver my way into different areas. And it's like, but am I staying true to me of who I am? Don't turn me into somebody else trying to go, do something crazy in life. So, Andrea, that's kind of where I went with compromise this morning.
Well, that was a good one, Coach. And as always, I'm going to do the opposite. So this will be fun because I'm going to talk about, kind of when we do need to compromise, how we're going to do it. So the quotes that I found was, compromise doesn't mean that you are wrong or someone else is right. It only means that you value your relationship more than your ego. And I love that, right? Because how many times can we butt heads? How many times can I butt heads? But it's really my ego wanting to be right, not necessarily thinking even that they're wrong. I just want to be right. And then the last quote that I found that I loved was, learn the wisdom of compromise, for it is better to bend a little than to break. And that was Unknown. So when it's appropriate, right? So not in the areas that Coach was talking about, but when it's appropriate, here are some tips on how we can compromise. So first of all, kind of what I was just talking about, don't always try to be right. So the question, want to be happy or do you want to be right? And I admit that sometimes that ego gets in the way and I just want to stomp my feet and be right. But the more mature Andrea decides to show up, I realize that I would rather be happy. I'd rather the relationship to be happy. I think Mark Wilson, which many of us will know, he puts it as, I want to win more than I want to be right. The second way that we can learn to compromise is learn to let things go. So nobody, as we've all talked about, not a single one of us is perfect, right? Only one perfect person ever walked this earth, and it's none of us, right? So we have to let go of those past wrongs, just like we pray that other people will let go of our past wrongdoings. Next, rethink our expectations. So, when we're talking about something and when we're negotiating either in business or in our home, how important is that specific issue? And if it's so important that we have to stand firm, or on the flip side, would everything still be okay if we decided to give a little bit, right? If we decided to say, all right, I can give 5 feet, you give 5 feet, we're all going to be just fine. So kind of look at your expectations. And then number 4 is be willing to change. So, it's one thing to say that you're willing to compromise, right? But it's another thing entirely to actually act on that compromise and change. So a major part of compromising is actually following through with whatever that resolution was. And then share your beliefs and emotions. So number 5, share your beliefs and emotions. So, when you're in that discussion and you're working on compromising, and hopefully it's not you just, giving up everything that was important to you in order to make the other person happy, you kind of have to sit there and make sure that you're expressing what your beliefs are. You're expressing what your emotions are around the situation so that every single person that's involved in that discussion in that situation is heard. And then next, show appreciation. So number 6, appreciate the fact that that person is working with you to find a solution, and let them know that you appreciate it. Like, thank you so much for sitting here and, talking to me or talk to me about your dog coming to my house to go to the bathroom every day, right? I appreciate you sitting down and helping me work on a solution that works for both of us. And then lastly, keep an open mind. So number 7 is keep an open mind. And one thing that I always try to remind myself, because, I do always think I'm right? I really do. But we have to realize that we only know what we know, right? Like, I only have the knowledge that's already in here. And, we could go even deeper in that I only look for things in this world that agree with the knowledge that's already in here. So it can be really hard to change our mind, because we are just, that's kind of how we're conditioned to just think that we're right. And new information, if it doesn't line up with the way that we see the world, it can be a little disconcerting. So try to remember that we aren't always right, and that there are other things in this world that we can learn. And if we can just sit in that for a minute in our conversations with people when we're trying to compromise, we can really be a lot more accommodating. So, good lesson for me today. Maybe I'll be a more agreeable person after this. I don't know. I hope so. But thank you so much for this, Coach.
No, great. Definitely a great lesson. It's been a good week. And one of the things I wanted to tell all of you is, I truly thank you and applaud you for getting on every morning on the Coach's Corner, because there's a lot that we could compromise and do, and there's things that come up, and it's just, it's tough to be consistent, get on something every day and spend 10 or 15 minutes. So thank you for being a part of this community and doing that. And we love and respect you. So have a good weekend. We'll see you back on Monday.
Have a great weekend. Love you guys.
Thank y'all.
See you guys.
Thank you.